Welcome everybody to today's webinar covering what's new with CrossLink. So for today's topics, what we will be covering are enhancements to CrossLink 1040 Desktop, updates to CrossLink Business, what's new with CrossLink Online, Multi-factor authentication, improvements to our wallet, subtle but significant changes to TaxPass mobile site, and lastly, our ever-expanding network of integrated partners. To start off lead, we will be covering our enhancements to CrossLink Desktop 1040. And what we have new for this season is first up within our interview mode. Interview mode now has the ability to file a state RT option only. So that would take place on the filing options page within the interview mode. And you can opt in for the state to be an RT. We also have the ability now to display a preview of the state return. So just like you can preview the 1040 form within the interview guided approach, you can now have the option to preview the state package as well. And we also have the ability to synchronize remote signatures. So synchronizing remote signatures would give the enhancement of adding a sync button on the remote signature table. What that would give the ability to do is automatically connect to our central site, which is our servers here at CrossLink, and it will update any signatures that have been completed. So it will automatically sync those remote signatures to the correct returns, and of course, populating the signatures in all the right areas of the return. So additionally, you will be notified as a taxpayer. If the signatures have not been completed, you will also be notified, hey, the signature hasn't been completed, and maybe you need to resend that request. So that was a few topics that's new. So let's take a look at those as I toggle into our desktop program. And let's get started. So as we know, CrossLink 2024 has been released, so that is available for download now. And I want to go ahead and toggle into a return that's been established. And to take a look at what that first topic we covered was within our interview mode. And if you're new to CrossLink, interview simply means that it is a way to do a tax return within the software with a guided approach. So within that guided approach, we have different sections of completing a return. And the section I was covering first up comes within the state returns. So when you are filing a state return, we have the ability to do a state interview method. And when you're finalizing that state return, on the filing options page, you will then see the option to elect for a refund transfer. So I just wanted to show what that filing options page looks like. And when we release the bank applications to the software, you will now see an RT option here under the state. As well as on the results page, we now have a preview button. So the results page allows you to preview the 1040, and now we can additionally preview the state tax return by clicking the preview button. So states are not released yet, so I'm not going to trigger that action, but just know that when you click preview, it will now preview the state that you have completed the return with. I also covered remote signatures. So remote signature is also on the attached forms panel right here on the left-hand side. And when you click on remote signatures, it opens up a pop-up window letting you know the status of that remote signature you sent to your taxpayer. You can see a new button has been added called Sync. When you click on that, it will run that query to let you know if any returns have been updated to a completed signature request. So that is just a nice way you can click Sync and get those updated signatures into their respective returns. Okay. Moving back on to our PowerPoint here, let's continue with some Office setup enhancements. Office setup has some new features that will allow you to enhance these settings within your return. The first setting that has an update is verification settings. So verification settings has been expanded to disable verify errors on unattached forms. So what that means is within the verification settings, you will be able to click this box in order to verify not come up with these errors on unattached forms, such as the Schedule A. The Schedule A is not mandatory. It will not come up and verify. We also have return notes. When you leave notes on a tax return, we can now display those notes in a date order. So newest date to oldest date or oldest to newest. So that is also an option. And then we have client letters. So we're always expanding our client letters to have new letters every year. And the new options that we have for this season are the installment agreement letter, gift tax letter, and direct deposit federal amended acknowledgement. So these letters will automatically populate on the return if these are applicable. So if a return has a gift tax return, then that client letter will automatically appear for that federal return. So once more, let's go ahead and toggle into our software, and I'll show you those settings that we have for this season. To always access your office settings, that's always going to be within the setup menu at the top of your toolbar. So we're going to go to Setup, Office Setup, and then we're looking here on our Registration tab. Within the Registration tab, you'll see Verification Settings. The verification settings is what is controlled to populate when you click Verify on a tax return. Clicking Verify brings up any errors or warnings that you need to clear in order to transmit the return. So that new feature that we have right here simply states, no verify on unattached forms. So for example, I mentioned the Schedule A. If it's not needed, it won't bring up the verification settings for the Schedule A. As well as within our defaults. So our defaults is a tab here under the Office settings. And we also have that setting I mentioned, return notes, order by newest. So if that is checkbox, it will now appear the return notes to be in a date sequential order. So again, those two settings are new within our Office settings. Moving on, we have some new fields for our extended reports. Extended reports are customized reports that you can build within the software, allowing for these fields to be completely customized to the best fields that best meet your business needs. So we're always expanding to add more features, and the new features we've added this season to run reports on these line items. So the following line items are W-2 EIN address, days since created, days since modified, an invoice discount by line or invoice by amount, an invoice entered by. So right here, I definitely just want to show quickly what these extended reports look like. So going into the software, when you are on the work in progress page, you can pin some reports to the quick reports queue on the WIP. So WIP is another way of saying work in progress page. So I have already built a report called new fields. And the new fields that we have here are just displayed right here within the column. So you can see I have the one return we started for the season, but I can go ahead and I can customize my report here to show me these line items. And if you're ever wanting to customize these reports, you can find that under the extended setup and customize these reports with these new line items. Moving on, we have new and updated forms within the 1040. These new forms that have been released for this tax season are also applicable in both softwares for CrossLink Online and CrossLink Desktop. Okay, so these are new forms that the IRS has released. The first form is the 709 return, and that is to report transfer of assets that may be subject to federal gift tax and certain generation skipping transfer taxes. So that is a form that would be available within our Add Forms window. And then we also have the form 8936A, and this is to claim credit for qualified new, used, and commercial clean vehicles. So I definitely want to go ahead and show you this form because this is a new form and a very popular topic for this upcoming season. So when we get into a return, go ahead and open my return here. We can go ahead and click on Add Form, and I want to search the main form for their clean vehicle credit of the 8936. And when you're on this form here, you have the section at the top that says complete separate Schedule A, which is the new form of the 8936. So what's really nice is when you're on this form, you simply will mark your X, stating that you have a vehicle placed in service. And we have form links that will direct you to the A. So once I mark that box, and we click here at the bottom, Schedule A form link, it will now open up that Schedule A for us automatically. We do want to pause here because I know there could be some additional statements made. So Steve, if you have anything to add regarding this form.
Sure, folks. Thank you. That's a perfect description of the 8936 and the 8936A schedule that needs to go with it. Please note that for this upcoming year, this credit is for when people want to make purchases of clean vehicles. Obviously, electric vehicles are becoming more and more popular. This particular form, and you'll want to make sure you take a look at the instructions, is both for used, new, and commercial vehicles. So please note that this just isn't for the purchase of a new vehicle, but also if you have a tax-paying client that wants a credit and it's associated with a used clean vehicle, or if they are in the commercial arena, in both those instances, this would also apply. Back to you, Priscilla.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, so moving on with some additional forms that are new for season. We also have the form 8997. So this form is to report transactions related to qualified opportunity funds. And then we have some updated forms and worksheets. So these would be existing forms that were applicable for the past seasons, but have some enhancements to them, such as the 3903. The form was enhanced to display the amounts entered on the W-2 Box 12 with code P. The 1099R, we implemented a year-to-year change to include entries for PSO and the state codes. The Schedule C now has new verifies that have been added to ensure the Schedule SE is added. The information and status. This worksheet has been updated to display an alphanumeric return ID. So that's a specific return ID for each return. And then we have the 1099K. This form has been updated to allow for the entry of the payee's business name and the payee's EIN. We do have some additional tips for this form as well. Now let Steve explain those.
Yes, you may have heard information about the 1099K, and what that is making reference to, and it's so important to understand, is that when people were making payments with things such as Venmo, that was a reportable income, especially if the sale was for something that was profitable. What became very interesting is that was going to drop the level in which reporting had to take place down to $600 and would have been in place for this year. However, in the last couple of weeks, what has happened is the IRS has decided to go ahead and defer that for one more year until tax year 2024, and to then begin to bring it in at a slower rate. In fact, the first go around with regard to that type of thing will be, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, $5,000. Yes, it will be $5,000. So it'll have to be a purchase that's made using Venmo or using this type of service for $5,000 or more and be profitable, not at a loss. So note that you may be seeing some of your taxpayers coming in with 1099Ks, but as far as reporting, it's going to be essential that they begin to understand that that'll happen for the tax year 2024 but not for 2023. Okay, Priscilla, back to you.
Thanks, Steve. Moving on with our next enhancement category would be updates to the CrossLink business package. And those are our corporate returns. So what we have that's new with the business package, again, within our extended reports, new search and display fields have been added, allowing you to create custom reports within the business returns. And those new fields include officers' SSN, account number, and routing numbers. We also have some new and updated forms. Those new forms consist of the 1120C. So once you add the package of the 1120, which is a corporate package, the new form of 1120C can now be added to that package. A client organizer, which allows for tax preparers, it's a useful tool for preparers to be able to gather tax data for their clients. So the IRS has released this client organizer that helps you even communicate to the taxpayers what information they need to bring to you in order to complete their business tax return. So it's a useful tool to be able to know what data you need to be collecting. We also have updates within these following packages within the 1120, 1120S, and 1065. These states are now able to electronically file these corporate packages. So that's a really nice enhancement, and I'll just leave this up there for a few seconds, especially if you do any business returns in these following states.
And Priscilla, if we could add, please note that our business package is not out yet. It does come out in about another month. We just wanted to give you a heads up because this will be in place when the business package does come out. Back to you.
Thanks, Steve. That's a great addition. I know software is just released and we may be clicking on that a little bit too early. So we will definitely announce when that package is up and ready. Okay, moving on to CrossLink Online. This is our online software and the following enhancements that have been made. CrossLink Online now has the ability to do a state return within the interview process. So again, interview mode is a guided approach to completing a tax return. And I know sometimes the states can be picky or finicky, filling out those forms. So you can now do an interview mode within the state package. We also enhanced the chat capabilities. So we have a new chatting system, and chat means you are chatting with our technical support team member. So when you see a red circle on the online software, that will open up the chat bubble and you can chat with the liaison there. But you can also search right here at the bottom. You can start searching a new knowledge base that we have released, where you can search useful articles that can maybe help you as well. So that is an interactive chat feature right there. And then we are actually moving to be releasing an online business package. So it will have the same principles as our desktop business package. Our online software will also have that as well. This hopefully will be an expanded offering for season 25, tax year 24. And this is just a quick snapshot of what it would look like within our online product. And again, it's going to be an integration of the most popular features that you already get within the desktop product. Okay, moving on to multi-factor authentication. So the big thing with recent years has always been making sure that we are being a secure software company for you guys, and security of your data, your taxpayers' data. So it is by federal law that all EROs are required to create and implement a data security plan, which also transmitters, CrossLink, are now mandated to provide multi-factor authentication for all the security of sensitive data. As a result, when doing business with CrossLink, multi-factor authentication will now become standard practice. So mostly this is security for you and for the security of your clients. You are also providing a secure data plan for your taxpayers and making sure that their data is safely secured. So what that means is within our desktop, this is what you may see when you're installing the software for the first time, or when you simply log in for the first time. You and your preparers, when they log in, they may see this pop-up that says, do you want to opt in to multi-factor authentication? If you do choose to authenticate, you would then be presented with a QR code and having to go ahead and verify yourself when you log into the software, as well as for our portal and CrossLink Online. So essentially all three of our base points here when you're logging in, whether it's the portal, the desktop software, or CrossLink Online. Again, it's a security for yourself and for your taxpayers to making sure we are all authenticating and protecting that data. So these are just quick. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry, Priscilla. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just please note, folks, you are responsible for a written information security plan, or what's known as a WISP. And this, as an example, by opting into multi-factor authentication, you can include that as part of your security plan. So that's a good thing. And please make sure that you take a look at the publication 5708, because it makes reference to all the things that you need to do. This multi-factor authentication, as Priscilla rightfully said, is for your protection as well as your taxpayers, your clients' protection. So this is a good thing, and it's also something to note. You can make reference to this when you're talking about your personal written information security plan. Priscilla?
Perfect. So another mandated change that we have to share is within our phone service carriers. When it comes to sending text messages from the software, previously generic branding was available to CrossLink by the service carriers, which allowed us to provide short messaging services without our name being displayed. So what I'm describing here is our TextLink Plus services is sending a text message from the software to your taxpayers. Previously, this is what your taxpayers would receive when they receive the text message. It would state you're subscribed to tax office, Bill's tax office, and display the message that you sent to them. Now, we have a mandated change that these same providers are now mandating that we explicitly brand messages triggered from our systems, but over their networks. So these are the cell phone carrier networks. And that means going forward, the word CrossLink must be represented in the text messages sent from our systems. So the text message now being sent to your taxpayers will now state you are subscribed to CrossLink Tax Alerts, tax preparation by Bill's tax office. So we don't want to be lost that TextLink Plus is a service we provide at no charge, but we definitely understand the concern over branding. But please understand this change was out of our control and that the tax office information is still being provided. You did not lose that your tax office name being stated. As you see right here in the screenshot, we are still representing your office name within that message to your taxpayers. Moving on to our ACH enhancement to the wallet. So as we know, CrossLink Wallet previously had credit cards as the main source of payment. So the wallet is where you may be accruing the charges for a remote signature, right? And previously, most of those charges were paid by a credit card. That was a defaulted system. Now we give the ability or the option that if you're partnered with a merchant service integration, you can now establish an ACH as a payment method. So what that means is this allows for services to be charged and collected by a way of a merchant service rather than through direct credit card charges to a wallet. Such as Clover and Square are now in play. So you can link the same ACH that you may be partnering with Clover or Square to the wallet, and now those charges from your taxpayer can be paid directly by them, and we can extract that by the ACH that's vaulted onto the wallet. So this could be another method of you collecting your remote signature charges through the wallet via the ACH. So that is something, if you're interested, you can take advantage of. And again, that is within our wallet. TaxPass updates. So TaxPass is a mobile website that is for the taxpayers. TaxPass is something you can market as the ERO. Your tax office can share out a custom link, and your taxpayers can start a tax return and submit their documents to your tax office within the software. So some enhancements that have been made to that for this season, it now supports PDF attachments. You can upload PDFs as well as an image. Images, files represent as PNGs or JPEGs. Cross list in a desktop has been enhanced, so it will now show additional columns and information to the preparer. So before it was just a very small list, such as the name, social, and the date it was sent. But now you can see we are displaying the phone number and email, maybe a message. So your taxpayer can definitely send a message within TaxPass, and that message can be displayed right before you even open it up. So it's an enhancement list that's right there for you. As well as we now support both prior year and current year have been added to TaxPass. So this means that taxpayer, if they need to now submit a tax return for you for the tax year of 2022, they now have the ability to switch the tax year within TaxPass and put it back to 2022 and submit a prior year return to you. So that is a major enhancement. It's good branding for yourself as a tax office, where you can now collect tax returns on both years. Additionally, the email notification that the preparer receives, or the ERO, whoever sets up the TaxPass settings, they would receive an email notification. And that email notification would just include, XYZ submitted a tax return to your office. But now the following information is displayed in that email, such as the client's name, email, and phone number. So we're displaying a bit of information to let you know which taxpayer just submitted a return to the software. And lastly, our QR code. Previously, QR codes from TaxPass would populate a unique code. But since we moved away from TaxPass being an app, it's now a website, so it has a URL. So now we have implemented the QR codes to be scanned, and when they are scanned, it will now populate the taxpayer's unique URL. So you can now save the QR code image, put it on your marketing material, and when your taxpayer scans it, it's going to bring them right to your TaxPass page where they can submit a tax return to your office. So that is really cool branding that we have provided, very new and modern, that you can now post the QR codes and it's bringing you right to that TaxPass website, and they can submit all their documents remotely. Moving on to our last category that we'll be covering today is our ever-expanding network of integrated partners. So we have some new services available for the season of 2024. And one of those services that it includes is called Audit Allies. And Audit Allies is a service provided to taxpayers with the direction from an industry expert on what to do in the event of an IRS audit. So you can now market an audit protection program that if your taxpayer does purchase Audit Allies, then they will be able to work with the industry expert that we have provided, and they would be able to give some tips and stuff if any audits happen from the IRS. So that is a new service that you can opt in for this season, as well as iProtect. iProtect is another service, but this one deals with any type of identity surveillance that this service will proactively monitor your taxpayer's identity around the clock for potential threats. So you can also sell an identity protection monitoring program through CrossLink, and this will just protect and monitor your taxpayer's identity and any potential threats that could come through. So these are two new services that we do are available for options that you can opt in and market and sell along with your preparation needs. And then that is it for today, folks. Those were all the new topics that we have available for our new and upcoming season of 24.